Welcome to the Daily Brain Podcast. Your vocabulary is your power. Let's build it one fascinating word at a time, starting today with not one, but two words that are music to our ears: dulcet and mellifluous.
Oh, yeah.
You might hear them and think, oh, they both just mean pleasing to the ear. But trust me, there are some really interesting nuances we'll uncover as we deep dive into these words.
It's true. They both evoke a sense of auditory pleasure, but they paint quite different sonic landscapes. It's like the difference between a gentle whisper and a soaring aria.
Wow.
Both beautiful, but in distinct ways.
I like that analogy. Okay, so first up, dulcet.
Yes.
What exactly does it mean and where does it come from?
Dulcet essentially means sweet and soothing to the ear.
Okay.
Think about the calming melody of a lullaby or the soft murmur of a stream. It has a delicate quality to it.
Yeah?
And if we trace its roots back to the French word,
Oh.
DULCET, which is related to doux, meaning sweet. That makes sense. Interestingly, dulcet wasn't always confined to describing sounds.
Really?
It could refer to anything pleasing.
Yeah.
A taste, a scent, even a kind gesture.
That's fascinating. I never knew dulcet had such a broad meaning originally.
Yeah.
So how did it evolve to become primarily associated with sound?
Well, over time, the word's usage shifted and it became more specialized in describing auditory experiences. Perhaps because the connection between sweetness and pleasant sounds felt so natural.
It makes sense. And speaking of natural connections, it's incredible that dulcet is in vocabulary.com's top 1,000 words.
Wow.
It even pops up in Shakespeare. I'm
What?
thinking of A Midsummer Night's Dream and Twelfth Night. Maybe this will inspire me to reread them and pay attention to how Shakespeare uses dulcet to create a specific mood. But before we get lost in Shakespeare,
Right.
let's move on to mellifluous, the other word we're diving into today.
Yes, mellifluous also describes a pleasant sound, but it emphasizes smoothness and flow. Think of a rich, resonant voice that seems to glide effortlessly, or the liquid notes of a cello. It's about a sound that's not just pleasing, but also captivating in its fluidity.
And if we break down the word its Latin roots, give us a really vivid picture. Mel, meaning honey, and fluere, meaning to flow.
Yes.
So mellifluous literally means flowing with honey. It's such a poetic image.
Exactly. And that imagery beautifully captures the essence of the word. It's about sounds that are rich and smooth, just like honey captivating the listener with their effortless grace.
So we've got dulcet, which is sweet and soothing.
Yeah.
And mellifluous, which is smooth and flowing. Both describe pleasant sounds, but with these distinct nuances. It's almost like dulcet is more about a gentle beauty, while mellifluous suggests a more powerful and captivating quality.
That's a great observation. It's like dulcet might describe the delicate chime of a wind chime on a gentle breeze, while mellifluous is more suited to the soaring melody of a virtuoso violinist. They both evoke beauty, but with different textures and intensities.
I see what you mean. It's amazing how language allows us to capture these subtle differences in sound. And it makes me wonder, beyond music, how else do these words get used? What other contexts do they appear in?
That's a great question. And I think exploring those contexts will reveal even more about the unique personalities of dulcet and mellifluous.
Okay, well, let's do that then.
You know, dulcet often appears in poetry and literature. When authors want to create a sense of tranquility or evoke a peaceful atmosphere, think of lines like, "The dulcet tones of her voice soothed his troubled mind," or "The dulcet melody of the birdsong filled the air." It has a very calming, almost hypnotic quality.
That makes sense. It's like dulcet paints a picture of gentle beauty, something that lulls you into a sense of peace.
Exactly. But it's interesting to consider that dulcet isn't always used positively. Sometimes it can hint at something being overly sweet or sentimental, even cloying. Like, the dulcet tones of the propaganda broadcast mask a sinister message.
That's a great point. It adds a layer of complexity to the word, doesn't it? It's not just about pleasantness.
Yeah.
It can also be used to suggest a kind of artificial sweetness that might be hiding something else.
Precisely. And that nuance is what makes language so fascinating. Words are rarely one-dimensional. They carry layers of meaning and can be used in all sorts of creative ways.
So true. Now, what about mellifluous? How does it go beyond just describing a beautiful sound?
Well, mellifluous is often associated with eloquence and persuasiveness. Think of a skilled orator whose words flow effortlessly, captivating the audience with their smooth delivery and well-crafted phrases. You might say, the politician's mellifluous speech swayed the undecided voters.
I see. So while dulcet might lull you into a state of relaxation, mellifluous could be used to describe a voice that's captivating and influential. It has a sense of power and purpose behind it.
Exactly. And that connection to power and persuasion might be why mellifluous is often applied to descriptions of great leaders or influential figures.
That's interesting. So it's not just about the sound itself, but also the effect it has on the listener. Dulcet might soothe and calm, while mellifluous could inspire or persuade.
It all comes back to those subtle nuances we talked about earlier.
This is really making me think about how we use language to describe our experiences, especially when it comes to sound. We have this whole spectrum of words that allow us to express those subtle differences in a way that goes beyond simply saying, it sounds nice.
Absolutely. And the more words we have at our disposal, the more precisely and vividly we can communicate our thoughts and feelings. It's like having a richer palette of colors to paint with.
I love that analogy. It's like dulcet and mellifluous are two distinct colors on that palette, each with its own unique shade and texture. And the more we learn about these nuances, the more attuned we become to the music of language. It's like we're training our ears to hear those subtle differences and appreciate the artistry of words.
I couldn't agree more. It's like becoming a connoisseur of language, savoring the flavors of each word and appreciating how they work together to create a symphony of meaning.
It's making me think about all the other words in my vocabulary that I might be taking for granted.
Mm-hmm.
What other words might have these fascinating backstories and hidden depths?
Oh, there are so many.
Yeah.
Every word has a story to tell, a history to uncover. It's just a matter of being curious and taking the time to explore.
So what you're saying is this deep dive into dulcet and mellifluous is just the beginning.
Exactly. It's an invitation to embark on your own linguistic adventures. Don't just passively absorb words. Actively seek them out. Explore their origins. Savor their nuances.
I love that. It's like we're being given a treasure map, and each word is a hidden gem waiting to be discovered.
Precisely. And the best part is this treasure hunt never ends. There's always something new to discover, some hidden connection to unearth.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for these two words and for the power of language in general.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, the journey of language exploration is best shared. Tell your friends, family, colleagues about the things you discover. Spread the joy of words.
That's a great idea. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into dulcet and mellifluous. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the subtle sounds of these fascinating words with us.
And we hope you'll continue to explore the rich landscape of language, discovering new words and uncovering their hidden treasures.
Until next time, keep those ears open and those vocabularies growing.